Okay.
Okay, there's Henry. And Sarah, Britt. Yeah, sorry. I don't know why everybody's coming up with my name. So strange. Hopefully you guys can change that. Okay. That is a mystery. All right. So let's see. Bennett told me he could not make it tonight. So let's 1, 2, 3. Is Britt still here? Then we'll have a quorum if she's here.
I'm here. I'm just locating to
Ellen.
a quiet room. Hold on.
Okay, great.
Or moving to a quiet room, sorry.
Ellen, there are 4 people who are in the attendee section that you should promote to panelists,
Okay.
including Julian and Ellen. Oh, you're Ellen, so I don't know why you're even.
Okay, let's see.
And Britt, you can change your name to Britt. Right now, you're still Ellen.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure out how to do that. I don't know which Ellen I am to click on. Hold on.
Well, yours has the picture of you.
Yeah, I know. I was looking on the side, but now I see.
And Julian, are you having trouble?
Hi. Yes.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Can you just promote me to panelist again?
Oh, yeah. I thought I
Sorry.
just did. Sorry, I'll do it again. And I just did Brooks too, but it's not accepting it. Maybe Alan,
He
do
has
you
to
have
accept
to
it
do
on his side.
Okay. And we have Rachel.
Can you all hear me? Because it didn't seem to want to let me be promoted.
Yes.
Okay.
We can hear you, but not see you.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I don't think I was fully promoted because it's not letting me join with video.
This is so frustrating. I don't understand this.
And did we figure out who the last Ellen is?
Um,
I'm gonna log off and rejoin. Hold on.
okay. I think what happened is I used the Zoom link on the website that was sent to me. Amber said I could just use that, but it obviously makes it somehow associated with my name. So,
Yeah.
okay. Well, apologies for that. All right. So, and Sarah's here. And okay. So we'll get started. I'm going to start the meeting a little more formally today. Now that I've attended the chair training by the town, there's certain protocols we have to go through. The first is to say that pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 and extended again by Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted via remote means. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may do so via Zoom or by telephone. This is a meeting of the Town of Amherst Public Shade Tree Committee. It is Tuesday, October 14th at 5:38 p.m. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the Town of Amherst YouTube channel. This meeting is being conducted via remote participation. I will now do a roll call to make sure committee members' video and audio are working properly. Alan, can you hear me?
I can hear.
Okay, Henry?
Yes.
Britt?
Yep.
Sarah?
Yes. And my video is working, but I just got home and it's a little crazy. I'll turn it on when I'm settled.
Okay. And Julian is no longer here. He raised his hand again. Allowed to talk. There he is.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes. Good.
Can you see me?
No.
Okay. I don't know. Strange.
I will. promote-
Ellen, do you want to make me a co-host as well? And then I can play around with getting attendees onto the panel?
I think Alan will do that.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
Okay, so we have a quorum. Hopefully, and Brooks should be here somewhere if we could let him in. I've tried to promote him, but that does not seem to be working. We will start with any announcements and public comments. I will save my comments for my chair report, but does anybody have anything they want to share? Okay. And it looks like we have 2 members of the public with us today, Rachel and Carter. I don't know if you have the ability to speak or turn on your camera, but I'd just love to introduce ourselves and welcome you to the meeting. Carter, are you there?
Hey, yeah.
Hi, are you
Sorry, I just came with
a resident of Amherst?
I am, yeah. I'm a student at UMass.
Great. Welcome to the Public Shade Tree Committee meeting. How did you hear about us?
I just did some research through like the Amherst website. I was just looking for someone to join, especially because I'm studying landscape architecture, so I feel like it's pretty interesting stuff. So
Perfect. Well, great. Thank you for joining. Hopefully you'll find it somewhat interesting and feel free to ask any questions as we go along. Rachel, are you there?
Hello.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi, I'm also a UMass student.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Great. Well, welcome. I'm glad everybody can join us. We do have 1 or 2 additional members who will hopefully join the meeting. And Ellen, can you just keep an eye out for Julian and Brooks? And I'll go through the agenda.
Do we have a note taker?
Britt, I think, can you do minutes, Britt? Yes. You're on mute, sorry.
Sorry, it's been a long day. I forgot, but I will start doing that now.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the reminder, Henry. So no public comment, I don't believe. So we'll move to the approval of the September meeting minutes. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes? Anybody other than me?
Sure, I'll motion that we approve the minutes.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? Sorry, we have to do this a little more
I
formally.
second
Thank
it.
you. Any discussion? And comments? They look good? Okay, so we just need to vote to approve them. Hopefully, we could do this. I'll just call if you could say yes or no on committee members. I say yes. Henry? Yes. Britt?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Thank you. Julian?
Yes, and you can see me, so
Yes, great. Thank you. And I see Haley has joined us too. I think Haley's the person we met this weekend at the second Saturday planting. She was a great help. There you are. Hi. Welcome to the meeting. I'm glad you could make it. Okay, so we will accept the minutes have been approved. And one final piece of housekeeping is just to collect our volunteer hours. So Henry?
2.
Okay. Britt?
2.
Okay. Sarah?
2.
Great. Brooks?
Well, let's say 4.
Okay. Julian?
14.
Okay. And Haley, you helped us for 3 hours, so we'll put you down for 3 hours. So thank you. And I had 28 this month. So, all right. So thank you, everyone. As I mentioned, I did some training with the town, and for votes, we need to do a roll call. We cannot just be a show of hands. So
Oh.
I know we've done things pretty casually, but I'm going to try to sort of button things up a little bit, and so with that we go by the town rules. So thanks for your patience with that. We will move on now to committee reports. I will start with my chair report. We had a great tree planting in September on Farmington Road and Pondview Drive. We had, I think, 4 women who came from UMass sorority to come help, and several neighbors just stopped by to chat with us. We planted 12 trees, including several from our tree nursery for the very first time. And I will add tree tags to those. I have not done that yet, but it is on my list. Then we had another planting on Saturday. We added 2 trees to the North Common and several more trees along Amity Street. In addition to committee members, it was a long holiday weekend, so we didn't have as many committee members as usual, but we had 4 volunteers, including Haley, Bruce and Gordon, who I believe have been part of the Shade Tree Committee in the past. And we also had a cohort of AmeriCorps members. They held an informal dedication of the Yellowwood tree that we planted on the common, or I should say they planted on the common, in honor of a woman named Sequoia, who worked through AmeriCorps as a college and career advisor at the Amherst Regional High School. She's a resident, or was a resident of Amherst and a mother, and sadly passed away last month. And AmeriCorps had reached out and asked about if they could do something in her honor. Alan very kindly selected a lovely tree and in a very prominent location. They're possibly interested in going through the formal process of getting a stone or plaque put there. We gave them directions how to do that, but that I think I'll wait to hear if that's something that they're going to do or not. But it was, they had a really nice turnout, and we're really very enthusiastic about honoring Sequoia, and very grateful as well. Speaking of the North Common, there's a ribbon cutting next Wednesday, October 22nd at 12 noon. Julie and I were speaking, it'd be great to have a presence there. So I plan to attend. I'll wear our t-shirt. But if anybody else has the time or is willing to do that, I think the North Common looks beautiful, and we've planted many trees there, so we've been a big part of that beautification, so we should feel proud of that. So let me know if anybody else plans to go, and maybe we can carpool or something.
When is that again?
It's next Wednesday at 12 noon.
On the common.
Yep, on the North Common. We've had 7 community members who've reached out to us via email, some of who are here right now, interested in volunteering. So thank you, everyone, for that. I'm glad that our committee is attracting attention and interest. As I mentioned, I attended the town committee chair training with Angela Mills last month. And learned just a few important things that I want to incorporate into our monthly meetings. One, I already mentioned, we have to do an audio roll call at the start of each meeting to ensure that everyone is heard and can be heard. And we have to allow for public comments, which we always do. One thing Angela mentioned, and maybe Britt will be happy to hear this, but Angela said that it's important that we take turns taking meeting minutes. She said that it spreads the workload and helps committee members become more invested. So that is something, you know, rather than, I know, Britt, you very graciously offered to be the minute taker, but I think that does make sense to sort of spread it around from meeting to meeting, and then it's not quite a much of a scramble if somebody can't attend. Also mentioned earlier, for votes, we need to do a roll call, not just a show of hands. I did ask Angela about term limits. And she said typically each member is allowed to serve a maximum of 2 3-year terms, which is what I thought. But Angela said the Shade Tree Committee is the exception to the rule because, quote, where are we going to find another Henry Lappin? I agree. We definitely want to keep, you know, our valued members engaged. But I also think it's important to make room for new people to join, formally join the committee. So just asking everyone to look at their terms and, you know, consider if you want to just do a, you know, 1-year extension or a longer extension. But, you know, I do think it's always good to have new people join as well. Another thing that Angela mentioned that I thought could be really helpful for site visits. She recommended that we take videos at site visits, so those who can't attend can still vote at tree hearings. So I think that is something we should institute. And that was about it, but it was great. It was really helpful for me in just structuring our meetings. Any questions on anything about that? No? Okay. I also attended an all-day DCR workshop in Worcester on October 1st. It was really great. I learned a lot. I'll just quickly summarize some of the key takeaways. Obviously, probably most of us know that the Urban and Community Forest Challenge grants have been paused. There's no federal funding coming down to the state, so they are not accepting any applications for 2026. They did mention that the Tree City USA applications are now open and we need to log on to the portal. Alan, I assume that's something that I work on with you. Is that correct?
Correct. I generally have the committee chair assemble, you know, a document that would preferably include all the events and activities that the committee participated in over the year. The more information, the better. Pictures of planting events, samples of documents that were created or articles that were submitted, things like that. Okay.
Well, I'll get on that. I think we have till the end of the year. So the first session was all about iTree and how to use iTree. We have used it a little bit. I'm sure some of you use it a lot, but I've been playing around in that, and that's been really interesting. And one thing I want to look at is our iTree benefits, which I guess you can see what percentage of your town is dedicated to tree or has a tree canopy. I have not done that yet. I don't know if Alan knows offhand, but it's probably a moving target.
I think I assembled some data on that last year when we were, I can't remember why, but we were thinking about some grant. So I might have that
cool.
Written up somewhere.
That would be great. Thank you. Our second session was taught by Jen Kettel of Radiant Leaf Consulting. It was all about young tree care and pruning. And she really emphasized the importance of pruning your tree right away, even at the moment you plant it. And again, a lot of this is information we know, but it's great to have it sort of reinforced. The watering is the single most important factor in establishing ongoing care for your trees. The importance of doing it immediately after planting or during planting, and keeping the soil consistently moist, which I know we do with the water bags, monitoring the tree very closely for 1 full calendar year. Then we actually went outside and we learned about tree pruning and where and how to prune and how to make the cuts on angles and at the branch collar. So it was actually very interesting, and it was also taught me that you shouldn't be afraid to prune. She just kept cutting and cutting, and I thought, oh my God, but the importance of keeping that central leader and just cutting off branches that are going to compete or pull down on that leader. So that was great. And then Rich, the tree warden from Northampton, did a session on municipal tree boards, ordinances, and bylaws. And again, reiterated the importance of town partnerships, how key they are. And he mentioned the DPW, obviously we're involved with them, the Office of Planning and Zoning, Conservation and Recreation, Energy and Climate Action Committee, which are all existing standing committees here in town, and how important it is to get in at the early stages of planning projects, that this is super, super important. So it made me think about, whether we have, I don't know if it's an ad hoc, smaller committee, or each person can be assigned to a different committee to watch some of their meetings or attend their meetings. I know it feels like a lot, but I think it would benefit us and the town in the long run, so that we're not taken by surprise when buildings are built right up practically to the road and there's no room for trees. Rich also mentioned, obviously, Rotary clubs are great. Other town tree committees, which I know we have partnered with in the past, doing outreach to underserved committees, youth workforce development committees. He very much promoted children and young people getting involved, mentioned, doing plantings at all the public schools so that children get invested, doing Arbor Day and Earth Day activities, which we already do. So that was great. Just looking through my notes here. Oh, Rich did mention that in Northampton, they have volunteer waivers that hold the town harmless if someone were to get hurt during a planting. And that made me wonder, Alan, if we have any such document.
There might be one. I think the town does have one. We've never used it, but probably wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, it just got me thinking, especially now that we're getting a lot more volunteers. I thought that would be something that we should probably do. I can look into the town website to see if there's anything online in their forms directory. The other thing that was pretty much emphasized both during the tree planting and the pruning exercise was safety goggles. And I don't know if that's something the DPW has more of, that could be handed out during a second Saturday planting, but
wouldn't that only be for using like motorized equipment?
No, they said for pruning, because things, break off, get in your eye. But anyway, something I thought think about.
And it's something I thought about. We could look at using some of the either capital money for planting trees, or using some of the tree fund money to purchase kind of PPE, personal protective equipment that would, stay in some kind of, committee coffers, storage area. Also, tools and shovels specifically for the committee that are properly labeled for the committee and whatnot, so that it doesn't get intermingled with the rest of our tools and equipment in training grounds. So.
That's a great idea. We should have very clear labeling on all of our the equipment that belongs to the town. Yeah, they did recommend the type of safety goggle to wear that has the side protection. I'm sure you're more familiar with it, Alan, than I am, but I think that's a good investment.
Do we sometimes do pruning as opposed to just tree planting?
We well, we're going to talk about that for our for our November 2nd Saturday. So yes,
Okay.
we do.
Okay.
And I definitely pruned off some, dead branches when we planted on this past weekend as well.
Oh. Okay.
So Rich also mentioned significant tree ordinance, which they do have in Northampton. I chatted with him a little bit after his presentation, and he, talked about the benefit of it, but he also mentioned that you need significant resources to have one because of all the permitting, and that they even have a person who's, I think, a part-time town employee who just deals with that. So that's something, if we decide to pursue a significant tree ordinance, we have to take into account that it is a time-consuming process.
Can you explain, Ellen, like what is the permitting dimension?
They have,
You have to apply for a permit to remove a tree if it is deemed a significant tree, and then there's an approval process. Is that the idea?
yeah, it protects trees more than 20 inches in diameter.
But the permit piece is what I'm asking. Like you would apply for an exception.
Right.
Wanted to take something down.
Right.
So like administratively, it would just be, okay. Got
Yeah.
it.
And Ellen, maybe we can discuss it more when we get to that section of the
Sure.
thing. I have a couple of questions too, but
Oh, good. Okay.
I'll just make notes and hold off.
Okay, that's fine. He did say that it does raise money because it's easier for developers to just write a check. We'll get to that. We can talk about that in a little bit. He also mentioned an ordinance relative to large-scale solar arrays that they also have in Northampton, where you can only clear 2 acres for solar without dealing with the planning board, and you have to pay significant fines to mitigate tree loss. I don't know if we have anything like that in Amherst. No, we don't.
I don't think we do. And we've talked about it on this committee before, that solar companies are offering to cut down trees for free, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say that this is quite an issue. They just commissioned a pretty large study on it that's in the bulletin. If folks want, you can find it on the town website. You can find it in the bulletin. For about a year, I was the liaison for the Shade Tree Committee to that working group. It's since sort of been dissolved. But they did come out with a study, and they had a consultant, and that study just got published pretty recently in the news, and I would encourage everyone to check it out. It's not really referencing smaller solar installations, like say someone comes to your house and wants to put in solar and offers to cut down a tree by your house to do so. It's more talking about like large ground mounted solar, tens, if not hundreds of acres, but really interesting nonetheless. So I'd encourage folks to read it.
Okay, thank you. So he also went over some public and private shade tree regulations. Cambridge, for example, has one that you pay a mitigation fee if you take down any tree 6 inches diameter or greater on all private properties. There's very steep fines. I don't think we're going to go that route. but they're obviously in a very urban city. Brookline also has a tree preservation bylaw. So one question I had, yeah, do we have some, I do remember writing something about this type of regulation, but Alan, do we have anything formally written on paper about tree protection and, you know?
Are you referring to current development on private property, tree protection?
Yeah, well, he said, well, I guess he said, let's see, all have to do tree protection must be done. A set of regulations for the town regarding trees. And as an example, he mentioned trench permits. If a company's working within 50 feet of a public shade tree.
Yes, so the DPW has a permit, so if trees are in the public way, if anybody wants to put in a a telephone pole, utility pole, or they want to trench for something, or put a new curb cut for a driveway, anything that's going to impact the public way is a permitting process that goes through DPW. And I'm on that checklist, so if it impacts a tree, then I'm supposed to be notified of that.
Excellent. He also mentioned a mitigation and replacement value chart. And I feel like we've talked about this and maybe done stuff in the past, but do we have anything formal? I know on our website, there's something about a replacement value per inch.
Correct. We are using a simple inch per inch kind of replacement value, which, as I stated before, needs to be updated.
Okay.
But we're not using any of the other ways of assessing a value of a tree. So there's probably half a dozen, at least 4 different systems for assessing the value of a tree.
Okay, well, let's update that and do, I can do a little more research on that. I can, the Northampton website will probably have a lot of that information to find. It was also interesting that they have a private 501c3 group in addition to their government group. Okay, quickly, sorry, I'm taking so much time. The final session was we went outside again and did a real tree planting. And I was very happy to see that, we follow all the standards that they recommended. So the only things that were a little different or things we could think about incorporating was, and I mentioned this to Alan, was they do a ton of measuring, to make sure the width of the hole we dig is 2 times the size of the root ball. And, they had all these special measuring tools. We kind of eyeball things, but it seems that we're doing fine. But I just wanted to show that that was something that they did. And they also watered at like every stage. So right before the tree ball went in, and then after the dirt, and then after the mulch. So they did like layers of watering, which we don't always have access to that much water, but I know Alan and his team do follow up after plantings to make sure that our trees are well hydrated. And they also, this is something we've talked about, staking almost every newly planted tree. And they said mostly it's to keep the lawnmowers away, just to give the tree more of a, physical presence in the landscape. So, but yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it. So thanks for listening to all of the summary. I think that wraps up my chair report. Julian?
Yeah, thank you so much, Ellen. That sounds like a lot of work. So I have a few updates. The first one is that I have mowed and string trimmed around the nursery, did some weeding, picked up some trash. What was interesting is it seems like there's been a bit of littering and stuff in that general area recently. There's much more room for new trees. We've used most of our red maples. We've also taken a few other trees out of there. And I noticed recently, I believe it was Alan and the crew dropped off a bunch of chips and some loam nearby. So that was great. I think it should be a priority of the committee to spend some time with new bare root stock trees, to put in new trees in the nursery and replenish our current stock. I was also thinking, I was speaking with one of my professors about starting some trees from seed. Obviously, this would be a much larger experiment. But if we had 1 or 2 places in the nursery to experiment with starting some trees from seed, I have some pawpaw seedlings that we could experiment with. Other notes is that I have on, this is sort of bordering on a social media update, but I've followed, I believe, 80 new people on Instagram. So hopefully those are mostly community leaders, some folks in the urban forestry industry, and with the goal of expanding our reach. The last post had a lot of success. We've had 2 recent postings, and I'm going to make a 3rd out of the photos I took. Ellen and Alan shared with me. And I'm also connecting with a friend of mine who is putting me in touch with Paul from AmeriCorps, who apparently took quite a lot of photos. And I will be able to put sort of a remembrance type post on our Instagram page. Another update is that the tree tags look much better. Ellen did a lot of work to improve them. I believe, did the AmeriCorps members sign on the back of them?
No, I didn't get that. No, we never.
Okay, that's fine. But we can spend some time putting out those tree tags around town. So that's something that is on my radar, spreading out some of the tree tags among committee members to put on newly planted trees. And then the other update I had was that I was looking at some new planting locations. Some trees were recently taken down by the crew at Sweetser Park. And that looks like a place where we could probably squeeze in a bunch more trees, as well as some spots like along Sunderland Road, that area. Some trees look to have been taken down either by the DPW or by Eversource, by like North Pleasant Sunderland Road intersection. And then I was also thinking about potentially some of the newer affordable housing developments, like we did one by Long Meadow, but I was thinking like on Lower Main Street, that area, as well as along the street, could use some trees. And the other thing that I have to report is that I've been in communication with some of my professors to see if we can get arboriculture students out to a tree planting sometime in the spring, so that actual students from UMass can come out to the tree planting. And I was wondering what our plan is for the work day, if that was going to be spent in the nursery or if we're going to be pruning and mulching elsewhere. That's all of my update.
Okay, thank you. Well, we will talk about the nursery and our second Saturday in November, so we'll just hold off on that.
Can I ask Ian a
Brooks?
question? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just interested in what you're talking about, planting trees by seed. Like, what's the advantage there? Is it just economic, or what are you thinking about that?
Yeah, it's just economic. I noticed how quickly some of the tulip trees suckered out in the nursery when I was like weeding around them. And I was thinking that it might be worth it to see how quickly we could grow seedlings, just from an economic standpoint, as well as my own personal curiosity. I'm also making a handmade measuring stick. Like
Good, thank you.
that will eventually become a tool of the committees if we choose to use it.
That's great. Again, I think we've been doing a very good job, but it was sort of fun to see them act, they spend a lot of time measuring and trying to be very precise. So that will be perfect to have. Thank you for making that.
Of course.
And I'm sorry to hear about the litter at the nursery. I know that Asplund crew park there during the day now, so
It's
that must be
possible.
what's
I don't know.
happening.
I've seen plenty of interesting behavior, to say the least.
Okay. Okay, Alan, tree warden report.
So it looks like the November 11th meeting is actually a holiday. It's Veterans Day.
Right.
So we should think about potentially whether we're going to do that, or do you want to move it to another date? And part of the reason why I noticed that was because I have to discuss a tree hearing that we'd like to have at before the next meeting. So I need the date to confirm the date of the next meeting, so I can also post a tree hearing. So we
Can
can.
everybody possibly go to Wednesday, the 12th? Is that, no, Sarah cannot.
I can't, but I can do the 11th. I don't need to change it.
Okay,
Do either.
you can do either. Britt,
Either
Jan?
one, yeah.
The 11th is actually even better for me.
All right. Alan, is it awful to make you come to a meeting on the
It is,
11th?
it is not. It's something I can do. So
You
I just,
sure?
Are we
I-
allowed to hold a public meeting on a public holiday?
I know, I'm wondering that myself. I
Might
don't know
not
the
be,
answer. to that.
actually.
Yeah,
I
I would guess
I
we're
ran into
not.
this with another committee I'm on, and we were
Okay.
not able to meet then.
Then we probably shouldn't. Okay.
And
I-
there's probably Veterans Day activities going on that day in town.
Oh, I'm sure there are. How about I send around like a doodle poll or something?
Right.
And then everybody, we'll try to meet that week, or we can maybe shift it to the 18th, Tuesday, the 18th, but I'll send that around, and then we'll get that figured out for you soon, Alan.
Okay. So the tree hearing is for a crabapple on University Drive. That's sort of at the intersection of Amity and University Drive. They're going to be tearing down the number 5 University Drive, which is a vacant pot store at the moment. It used to be Rafters, and that whole complex is being torn down, and there's a development going on. The tree is not being removed for the development. The tree is actually being removed for the roundabout, which is being built by the town. Everything up to this point was thought to be on private property that was impacted by the roundabout, and with some new boundary identification, it looks like the crabapple is actually a town public shade tree. So we need to do a tree hearing to request its removal. So this is
Sorry,
a town.
that's University in Amity.
Yes, yeah. So they're going to install a new roundabout there. So,
Putting it in an apartment complex?
not after the roundabout is built, I assume, or during the roundabout process. I don't know how they're coordinating it. But number 5, University Drive, is going to be torn down, and there's a construction project going there. So,
Okay.
Let's see what else. I did have the crew drop off some fresh wood chips and some compost at the nursery, so that, if we do a work day there, we have some bare roots. I still have some sweet gum and some winterberry from Arbor Day to put in grow bags. I don't have any other bare root tree stock on hand at the moment. but there's probably, 10 or so bare trees I have that need to be planted at the nursery. We also mulch some of the trees in. I think one of the things I noticed with the nursery is that some species didn't really mind at all being in the grow bags, and other species really struggled with not having mulch around them, during the winter. So we should probably mulch everything there, give it a fresh mowing.
Alan, do you mean mulch like up the side of the bag to keep it?
I think so. I think we should like windrow the whole area to give it a little cushion from the freeze thaw cycle.
Okay.
Let's see, what else do I have? I think that's roughly it. I'll be saying a few words at the Common dedication, the North Common dedication as well.
Oh, good.
So I'll get to talk about that a little bit. Yeah, I think UMass has probably dropped their request to remove the oak tree on East Pleasant Street, where Clocks Hill comes up onto East Pleasant Street. So they did a bunch of regrading there and knocked down the berm that was blocking the line of sight looking north as you pull out onto East Pleasant Street. So they did not, as far as I know, request a scenic road tree hearing, and the tree has remained undamaged. They didn't really get underneath the root zone of that tree at all. So
that's good news.
And I will start compiling all the data for the Tree City USA application due January 1st. So. And that's it.
Okay. Julian, did you have a question?
I was just going to say that there's an online registration, and I registered the Shade Tree Committee for the Common event.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
So we're all registered and can show up.
Excellent. Thank you. Brooks, do you have your hand raised, or is that
sorry.
a past one? Okay. Thank you. Sarah, can you provide a treasurer's report?
Yes. Our current balance is $11,193.35, which reflects no change since our last meeting. The last change to our account was that $500 donation, which was in July.
Okay, thank you very much. Shoshana is not here. I did see she posted on Facebook today just about our meeting. Julian, you provided us some information about Instagram. Thank you for following other organizations and individuals. I think that really helps a lot to boost our numbers. And I love the idea. I also wrote to Matt at AmeriCorps for photos. So I'm hoping we can get together a nice post about that. So
yeah, my friend said that Paul's gonna send me some sometime this week. So keep an eye out on Instagram.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move to presentations and discussion. So second Saturday plans for November 8th. I had suggested we do a work day in the nursery, and it sounds like there is work to do there. It seems like it would be probably, and Alan, I defer to your expertise, but too late in the season for a planting?
It all depends on the weather. If we stay mild, if the soil temperatures, in the 50s or hovering around 50 degrees, you can still plant. So it really depends on what the soil temperature is. It wouldn't be bad to do a work day, and if you want to do some structural pruning on some of the trees we've planted in the past in a couple of areas, that would be a great thing to do. Everybody would have to, bring their own sort of pruning tools.
Okay.
I don't have enough for everybody.
And I'll get safety goggles. Okay, I think that would be great. I'm up for that. I would love to get the trees set for the winter. So we have a beautiful blossoming tree nursery in the spring and can maybe do a tour in there or hold an event. Britt, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, is there enough work to be done to necessitate, like at the nursery right now, to necessitate using that for a full work day? Or like, Julian, you had said that we've planted a lot of those trees. How many trees are left?
There's still 2 full rows of trees left. And there's one sort of half row left. We have 2.5 rows we can fill in, and also sort of mounding up that mulch all along them. I would mow it the day before, for the last time. If we were to do, well, I'd mow it for the last time sometime in November anyway, but I'd mow it for the last time the day before, so it looked sort of nice for us.
I can recommend that, so we could do, you could do some work in the nursery itself, and then out front of the horse barn are a number of trees that were actually planted by the town as part of the tree planting, 2,000 trees. And so we could walk around the front of the horse barn on Station Road and do some, pole saw work or something, pruning those trees, lifting the crowns or something. Or you could go up to the South Amherst Common or the South Amherst School and prune any of the trees that the committee has planted up there. So
I did do I already did the South Common because it was bothering me driving by it all the time. All the tulip trees had all these little suckers. So I just pruned around the bottoms. But yeah, Henry, you were at the school picking apples recently. Do those trees need some TLC?
Yeah, they could definitely use some pruning work. It's not really the best time to be pruning fruit trees, though. There's still persimmons on the persimmon tree if people want to go pick.
I did some pruning back there in the spring, I think, at one point.
Okay. Well, let's plan to be at the nursery, and I live right in South Amherst, so I can easily see if there's other areas. But I do know the trees in front of the horse barn definitely need some pruning. They kind of grow in. One of them is very crooked. I don't know if that will be able to fix that one, but yeah, I think that sounds like a good idea. So that's November 8th, Saturday, November 8th. Okay. I have state level initiatives, municipal reforestation bill as our next line item. Brooks, I feel like you're kind of driving this one, and do you have anything you want to talk about or
Yeah,
anything
sorry, I
to do?
kind of dropped the ball about this, but I did I can send out a summary of what the bill is. There's actually 3 bills that I think we should consider endorsing all of them. And Sierra Club Massachusetts has a easy form that you can use to write a letter to the committee. It doesn't include your state rep and state senator, but I would always do that as well. So they're aware of it. And so you can like sign on to that, and you could also say, and as a member of the Amherst Public Shade Tree Committee, this is a big concern for us. So I'll send out the link to that and a summary of the bill, and I apologize that it's taken me too long.
That's okay. It sounds like it's been sitting around in the State House for a while anyway, so.
Unfortunately, our state legislature loves to do that for years.
Okay, well, whatever we can do to help, yeah, and just send around any information. I did try to read it, and it was very dense, and if there's a summary, that would be really helpful.
Got that.
Thanks. Okay, significant tree ordinance. This is something we've batted around for several years now, and I think with the taking down of the Historical Society tree, it brought this back up to the forefront. Sarah, you said you had some information to share.
Yes. So I have compiled the research that I did. I've got a draft of notes, and then I have ordinances and regulations from Cambridge, Lexington, Newton, Northampton, Quincy, Wellesley, and then also a tree ordinance guide for the state of Massachusetts from 2018. And I have a draft, which is very simple, like mostly stolen from other documents that we began to start to format and develop as the Amherst Significant Tree Ordinance back from 2021. So I don't know, this is just a lot of files. And rather than shooting around a million emails, I was hoping there'd like be some sort of drive or repository where we could store this online and then just give people access to it. So it could be more of a community developed document. I don't know what's possible.
Okay, we do have a tree committee Google Drive.
Okay.
So I can send you a link to that. And then if you don't, or if you're not already on it, and we can create a folder on there. And then let me just,
I'll check.
okay, I'm just looking here. Yeah, we definitely have a drive.
So I'm happy to upload those things. And then I just had a couple of questions based on your conversation with Rich from Northampton. Is there street tree ordinance tied to zoning?
I don't know the answer to that. Do you know, Alan?
I believe it is.
Yeah, I think their street
Sounds like it.
tree ordinance is tied to their zoning.
I think so. I couldn't remember from 2021, but that's just an interesting consideration, that something that we should consider as we are looking at developing our own document. If it's only tied to zoning, then a private landowner could cut down trees regardless on their own property, and doesn't matter what size because it's tied to the zoning. So the zoning only matters if they're changing the zoning use of their land. So if they're keeping it single family and they decide they hate trees and want to cut down everything, or if somebody new buys a property that is very forested and decides they want to cut it down, a significant tree ordinance tied to zoning regulations would have no impact there.
Mm.
But if someone is looking to take a single family residential lot and then develop it or convert it from single family to like rentals, that's a zoning trigger. And then they wouldn't be able to cut down significant trees to like put in a new parking lot or something to that effect. So, however, there's just different ways that these significant tree ordinances are triggered. And there's a lot of consideration about tree size and what replacement would be, like the chart you were mentioning, Ellen. But there's also when it goes into effect, like what the triggering action is, and having it be a blanket, like any tree on any private or public land that exceeds a certain amount, I think is a harder sell to the town and the community than something that's tied to zoning, but it also that severely restricts its applicability. So there's just a lot to consider, and certainly like a lot of discussion for us to have about what this document could be and what it would look like.
I'm
Chris?
just curious, Sarah, in looking at the, in bringing together all of the significant tree ordinances that you mentioned, are there any that are blanket, covering private trees on private property, without any triggering zoning mechanism? Like, is that a possibility?
I think it has been done. Again, I know we talked maybe 2 months ago about like, I don't have a good literature review. So I don't have a good way of like comparing them. And that's, I think, where our draft started to fall apart, is because we're asking these questions and I just don't have, I read it 4 years ago and I don't remember. And I don't have like a good summary or like comparison chart of like who did what where and what the precedents are.
Yeah.
To my recollection, there is, but they are in more urban areas. So like in Boston and the Boston suburbs where trees and open space is really at a premium, I think there were significantly more restrictive and applied more generally. And then, for example, like out in like the hill towns, it's way more general and tied to specific development and zoning practices. So I think it also runs the full gamut and is really contextual. But I don't have a good comparison of so that we could like, make a good case for one or the other to be applied to Amherst.
Got it. Thank you.
Rich did mention Cambridge as having a private shade tree ordinance that is applicable to all private property. But again, that's a much more urban dense place than Amherst.
Yeah, I think that's a good point though, right? Because there are people in Amherst who have 5 acres, is it fair to regulate cutting down, any tree of a certain size on, out in the woods on a 5-acre lot? I don't know. So I guess the question then is, how do you define significant? And maybe there's like the town does have different zones when you're thinking about like how many animals you're allowed to keep, like chickens, or what animals you're allowed to keep. So maybe there's some like differentiation we could have by zone in the town. So if you're in one of the more densely populated zones of the town, like the zones where you're only allowed to keep 12 chickens, no roosters, no livestock, etc., then it's any tree above a certain size or something like that. And maybe there's some nuance related to that might make sense, since it is kind of a mixed environment in terms of density. But I don't want to overcomplicate things.
I think it is going to be complicated because right, we're trying to balance like people's ability to do what they want on their own land versus the kind of like the public good or like the future of the town. And I think there's also an element of what species is it? If it's an invasive species, if it's a Norway maple and it happens to be 20 inches, but you want to cut it down because you want to plant something else or native trees or something like that, like should that be under the same level of scrutiny as cutting down a 20-inch oak or a native maple versus a Norway maple or something like that? So I think there is a lot of complication to it. Yeah,
we could put in a thing saying any tree above a certain size that is a native tree or that is not considered invasive in the Massachusetts regulation. So that would exclude Norway maple, say, but yeah, ways to do that.
Sarah, I think it'd be great if you could upload some of this to the drive and people look at it. I think this is going to probably require more of an ad hoc group to really dig down into this. I'm not sure we can accomplish all the nuances in just a monthly meeting, but maybe once we've all had a chance to look at it and absorb some of it, we can make a decision if it's going to require drilling down a lot more. I think talking to other towns that have this in place is going to be key as well. So again, I'll send you the link to our committee Google Drive.
that would be great. I was just looking through and I don't see it shared
Okay.
with me, which doesn't mean it wasn't in the past, but I can't find it easily. So if you could send it along,
Yeah, it took me a while to find it too. So yeah, of course. And thank you for bringing back all that research you did. It didn't go to waste. So thank you for that. I do think this is a really interesting topic for us and something that deserves our attention. So we will give it. I'm sorry, I'm aware of the time. I'm sorry we've gone over, but I do want to get to Britt's request to talk about a local wood bank and what that would entail, or what your thoughts are on that, Britt.
Yeah, so some of you may or may not be familiar with a local and regional organization called No Loose Braids. It is a Nipmuc-led organization. The head of it is Andre Strong Bearheart Gaines Jr. He has presented at UMass many times. He was the keynote speaker at the Massachusetts Envirothon event that Henry and Julian and I represented the committee at last spring. And they have collaborated with DCR on bringing back some indigenous forest management methods in cedar swamps and other, types of landscapes around the state. And they have a wood bank where folks come to collect wood. I think it's primarily folks in energy poverty using the wood, to fuel their homes as a source of heat. It's located in Ashfield, and when I learned this, I remember that we had talked at one point about what can we do with our wood that's coming from the trees that are being felled by the town, tree removals and so on. And so I, reached out to Andre and said, would you all accept donations of wood? We don't have a wood bank, if there was a way to bring the wood to you all in Ashfield. And he was extremely enthusiastic, very excited about it. So I wanted to just bring that up with the committee. He said they can accept it processed or unprocessed. They have a splitter. The key issue in my mind is transportation. So I think we would have to transport the wood to Ashfield. If that's not something the town is able to do, and I recognize that it probably is not, I would be willing to look for some type of third party to transport it, but it seemed to me like a good way to support an indigenous organization, to support, access to heat, fuel, for, our broader regional community, and to actually do something with some of the wood that is coming down in Amherst. So I wanted to raise that with the committee.
Well, thank you, Britt. I think it seems like a really interesting idea. My first question is just to Alan is what do you do when you take down trees? What is the typical process?
So we generally chip everything that's, if it's a hardwood, we're chipping everything sort of 14 or 15 inches and smaller. So any wood that is smaller than 14 to 15 inches, we chip and turn into wood chips. Anything larger than that, we bring to our Ruxton storage yard and pile it up, and eventually, the town pays someone to process it. It is, I've reached out to several businesses around that utilize wood for making bowls and things like that, cutting boards. They've taken truckloader full, loads out of there. They like the type of wood we have, at the wood yard is not this kind of nice, clean, long, straight wood. It's big. We're talking most of the wood there is over 24 inches in diameter, 21 inches in diameter. It's gnarly. It's full of cracks, branch unions. It's not clean, straight wood that you usually associate with processing wood with a log splitter. So
Mm.
it requires more equipment, literally to split the whole log in half before you can even process it. So we did, probably 10 years ago, we paid $20,000. We went out to bid to find a company to process our log pile. I believe it was Rocky Mountain. Got the contract. And we spent $20,000 for them to take everything, and they were there for over a week, grinding everything into coarse wood chips. And then they had to bring in a special machine to literally shear the bigger logs in half before they could run it through their massive chipper. So some of that went to be reprocessed into landscape mulch. Some of that went to biomass. I'm not sure Rocky Mountain owned those chips, after we paid them to turn them into chips. So I'm not sure where those chips ended up, but our wood yard right now is full. And last week I reached out to just to get an estimate on how much it might cost before we go out to bid to process that wood again. So it's going to be well over $20,000, I'm guessing.
And so, what if I reported to Andre, this is the type of wood we have, do you want it? If the answer is yes, it would almost certainly cost less than $20,000 to transport that wood to a wood bank in Ashfield.
You'll spend about $300 a truckload, log loader load.
How many loads are there?
There are 80.
Oh, God.
And
Wow.
I'll just add that like if they want chips to use as biomass or something, I'm happy to volunteer my truck to fill up with wood chips and bring up there.
Okay.
I use the wood chips behind my house, etc. But the types of logs that we're dealing with, if you put them in the bed of like a regular person's pickup truck, it would destroy it. That is the size, like the sheer size of these logs is, we're talking really big in size. So like as much as I would like to, I physically couldn't bring them from Ruxton to this person in Ashfield. You would need.
I wasn't suggesting like personal trucks. I was
Yeah.
suggesting like a commercial vehicle.
Logging trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would need
Yeah.
like a logging truck type
A
thing.
log truck will hold, 7 or 8 cords of wood
Okay.
in a log truck. So it would be, if they have the equipment to, manage and process big logs like that, then, they could take some of it. It's just that it's much more efficient to process this type of wood at the location than
I
it
see.
is to, so you'd almost be, you'd
Okay.
want to pay someone to process it there and then haul the material that has been created out of there.
Okay. So, if I guess my question is like, what should I report back? One, that we could potentially, with our volunteers, bring chips as biomass. Or if they're able to accept, let's say like one log truck of 7 or 8 cords, that might be possible.
If they're working with DCR and they're working in sort of land management and timber management,
Yeah.
they may have access to log trucks and other types of vehicles used to, haul chips or
Right.
wood.
Right.
So I would imagine you could ask them, look, there's the possibility that you could
Okay.
take as much of this as you want. I would have to look I just have to make sure. I don't see any issues with it. Some communities, you know, when you do something on a scale like this, you're
Right.
supposed to make it, you can't just give away a town resource on a large
You have
scale.
to sell it. You have
You
to,
have to
you
go
have
out
to
to,
pay somebody to take it.
you have to go out to a competitive kind of bid
Right.
process. So they would
Right.
essentially, you know,
Except that, as you said, Alan, we
Yeah.
paid people to take it before, so.
well, we'd have to, it would be a competitive bid that's not actually asking for money. We're just saying,
Right, I see.
who
Okay.
out there wants all this wood?
A
and the best-
non-competitive, competitive bid.
And the best offer gets it. So,
Okay.
So one other
okay.
concern, if I may, and that's transporting logs with possible insects in them, whether it's emerald ash borer or other things. You know, Ashfield's not that far away. It's probably similar pests, but I'd be a little wary about that.
I'm sure they're adequately supplied with their own emerald ash borer in Ashfield, no?
yes.
Yeah, so, okay, so I will communicate this, and, you know, my interest in the wood bank stuff actually came from a DCR presentation. I can't remember the guy's name. We've talked about him before. That was at one of the Tree City USA events in Greenfield a couple of years ago that I went to. And so it may be worth me reaching out to him also and saying, you know, would DCR be willing to you know, be a connector between you know, our wood that we have and the wood that they need, you know, with equipment. So I will continue to explore this, if that is okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for, yeah. It's a great concept. So yeah, thanks for seeing if we can make that a reality or not. Okay, I'm gonna skip our old items, tree nursery, Mary Maple table, just in the interest of time, unless somebody has something to say on either topic. I think we already talked about the tree nursery. Are there any outstanding committee comments or topics not reasonably anticipated that anyone wants to go over?
I just realized there's a bunch of trees we planted along Station Road that could use pruning. Going further down towards the other horse barn that's more of a farm now. There's a lot of trees that are probably entangled in bittersweet and whatnot that we planted years ago that we could.
Oh, did we plant the maples? Those maples all along
I don't know.
Station Road?
No, those are the ones on, I think, Julian, the ones you're talking about are the columnar oak trees that were planted.
Yeah.
On the
Oh,
edge.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And some hawthorns. Hawthorns did not do well there, but
Yeah.
It's a pretty wet area. It's super, super sunny. And I mean, it could use a little more shade. And there's a lot of bikers and walkers and, you know, because of the access to the rail trail right there.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you. for that.
Before we end, maybe we want to offer our guests a chance to say something.
Yes, I will happy to do that. Thank you for hanging in with us, Carter, Rachel, and Haley. We usually don't meet this long, but we had a lot to discuss. Are there any questions or comments, observations you want to make? Anybody?
Yeah, I'm just wondering in general, like other ways to just like volunteer and help out with this committee.
Certainly, planting our second Saturdays we're always looking for people to help with that. And we welcome volunteers. November will be our last one until the spring. But we usually come up with some project ideas for December, January, February. I know last year Henry and Julian made tree cages. We could maybe make some more of those. Julian, I don't know, or Shoshana's not here, but I don't know if social media is something that we could use more help with.
One thing that we could definitely use help with is just putting up those tree tags
Mhm.
around town. Me and Ellen might find some time to do that this winter, this fall, maybe in the spring. And if you'd like to help with that, we'd love to have you.
I would also add too, if if you're inclined and good at research, like with the significant tree ordinance, helping to pull together, communities, whether in Massachusetts or otherwise, that have tree ordinances, and just trying to, develop that database of significant tree ordinances that deal with trees on private property. So that takes a lot of time. Sarah's done a lot of great work on it, but if you're so inclined to do that, that's also helpful for the committee.
And I can give you credit for it. I I teach at UMass, and so actually when Sarah, you were talking about that piece of work in particular, that's like a very discrete, tangible project that would work well as a 1 credit or 2 or 3 credit independent study, to just do that analysis. So I'd be happy to talk with any of the students here if they were interested in doing that. You can just Google, it's B. Crow Miller at UMass. Just send me an email.
I also would like to throw out there's one project that I've always wanted to have done for the town. At the Du Bois Library, there is a aerial photogrammetry that goes back to like the 1950s or earlier. So they flew the state, every couple of years, in the exact same pattern every couple of years, or maybe every 10 years. So they have the canopy change of Amherst going back, to 1950s, sometime along there. And if someone had the time and skills to go into the library and pull up this aerial photogrammetry and make some kind of presentation or something that says, hey, this is Amherst over, the last, since 1953 or whatever it was when they started. You'd be very interested to see, because Amherst, obviously, like many communities in Massachusetts, we have more trees now than we have in hundreds of years. So, or 100 years probably. So
That's a cool project. What were you calling the aerial photographs?
it's in the old days it was referred to as aerial photogrammetry. So it was actually,
Like
real film.
Pre-LiDAR.
Yeah, pre-LiDAR. It was film, large format camera. They were kind of like a large slide, and they were done in stereoscopic. So they're actually 2 lenses, and they flew the whole plane. And you could actually sit down at a table with this little binocular type of things and look at these 2 images and actually see in 3D tree canopy. It's pretty cool, but yeah.
That's a cool project. Okay, I didn't know about that. Thank you. Haley, you have your hand raised?
I was just wondering if I have a contact for someone pretty high up in the Keep Indianapolis Beautiful. I don't know if you're familiar with it at all, but that's just where I'm from, and an organization that I've come across a few times. But they do an Adopt a Block program, which is just essentially community members adopt their block, and they plant the trees and then teach them how to manage them, and kind of manage that program. And I don't know if that's something that would be, I mean, that's obviously in Indianapolis, like downtown, so it's a much bigger area. But I don't know if that's something that has been dabbled with or like tried to adapt, or something like it here, or if that's even possible, or anything at all. But I also just wanted to see if like I could potentially reach out to them and see more of the like behind the scenes logistics just to see if it would work, but I also kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it. And I can send like the website somehow to someone if it's something
You
that
can
they're
send it to
interested
me.
in.
I
Okay,
can
sounds
pass it along
good.
because I know we've been in communication. So I don't know if we've ever done that. Alan or Henry?
Not really. It's, it's a great idea. Trying to get someone to adopt a stretch of street or a section of, section of a road along several houses or businesses sort of thing. That would be interesting.
I do know when we have planted on private property, which we don't do very often, but at some of the apartment complexes and things, Alan has said that there's a lot of enthusiasm, but then there's not always a lot of follow through with the care of the tree and watering of the tree. And I think part of that is maybe too many people, so nobody's taking charge, but also because Amherst has such a high rental rate and with the students, there's not the consistency of people necessarily living there for a long term. So just
It would-
something.
It would be cool to think about something like adopt a tree, like a significant tree, right? If we have like a certain number, a pretty small number, maybe like 20 significant trees in very visible places in town, like would community members, it's like a way to keep eyes on the tree, to have people value the tree, to learn about the tree, like even the tree tours that the committee has done of the trees that are in the old Amherst Trees of Amherst book from the 70s. That could be interesting. I don't know. I'm just like thinking of this idea, Haley, that you shared. So I'll continue to think about that. But
Yeah, no, I like that idea of like, and even I feel like another way, I know you've mentioned engaging different organizations around the community. And what could be cool is like having an organization adopt, like what you were saying, like adopt a tree. And part of it could be like a plaque or something, just like a stick with a sign on the ground in front of it with like facts about each tree. And it's like adopted by, and then put that organization on. And that could engage a lot of different people too, and draw a lot of like different people around the community to engage in like tree plantings, and that could like over time spread through other initiatives. Like Greek houses could adopt a tree. Like the organization I work for could adopt a tree. I know that, I mean, we do a lot of environmental advocacy, so I feel like it's right up our alley. But like that could kind of be a workaround.
Yeah, I think this is a really excellent idea. Like, I'm especially thinking, sort of processing the idea in my head in the downtown area. If we had a few residents or a group of businesses, etc., be like adopt a block, and they did weeding the tree pits, some of the tree pits downtown, picking up some of the litter, maybe even doing some like light pruning if we taught them properly. I think that definitely, like watering the grow bags when the trees are in grow bags, those would all be great tasks that could sort of, with the proper training and sort of hand holding, if you will, alleviate some of the stress on our DPW and Alan's crew. So if we had that, especially like business owners who might be motivated to do that, or folks who live like right in the downtown area, especially students, it might be helpful.
Thank you, Haley. That's great. This is why it's good to have new people join, get new ideas. Alan, you had mentioned something earlier about the scenic byways. Do you know is there a way I can find out which streets in Amherst have been designated scenic?
Sure, there's on the town website, it does list the scenic roads.
Okay, thank you.
So it is, if you just
There's a
do a
link
search on the website.
too.
Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you all for hanging in there. This has been a longer meeting. I appreciate everyone's time. I'll send around the doodle poll. We'll get the next meeting set. We've got our second Saturday plans. And I know a bunch of us are going to do some additional research. So can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Britt. Second, anyone?
I'll second.
Thanks, Sarah. Okay, we are officially adjourned at 7:04.
Thanks, everybody.
All soon. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Ellen.
Yep, bye.